Hi friends! In the next 2 episodes, we're talking about how to choose the right meat goat for your climate and environment. Today we'll discuss things to consider, and next week in part 2, we'll talk about the 5 most prominent meat goat breeds, and we'll wrap up with tips on where to get your first meat goats and how to get them off to a great start. This episode is loaded with information, so grab a pencil and notebook and let's talk meat goats. Hey friends! Welcome to the Get Goat-Wise podcast. Are you longing to raise goats and other animals for food but don't know where to start? Do you want to be more self-sufficient and less dependent on the grocery store? Do you wish you had a mentor to walk you through raising livestock? Hi, I'm Millie, animal scientist, cattle girl turned goat rancher, co-owner of Dry Creek Livestock, and simple living enthusiast. For 15 years, I've been on a mission to raise all of our own meat, eggs, and dairy. Here, we'll talk about raising goats and other homestead livestock, how to create sustainable animal management systems that actually work, and a bit of off-grid life with kids and livestock. If you're ready to take control of your food supply, raise livestock with confidence, and provide your family with the most nourishing meat, eggs, and dairy available, you're in the right place. Kick off your muck boots, pour a cup of coffee, and let's talk livestock. Hey friend! Do you want to hang out with like-minded folks who are also interested in raising their own livestock and seeking self-sufficiency? Inside the free Raising Goats and Homestead Livestock community, you'll get tips on raising goats and other livestock and ideas to increase your self-sufficiency. Join now at bit.ly/getgoatwisecommunity. You can also become an insider and get weekly emails from me with the latest podcast episode, tips on raising goats and other livestock, real-life information about self-sufficiency and living off-grid, and early bird access to special offers. Sign up at bit.ly/getgoatwiseinsider. Before we get started on today's topic, I want to read a review titled Bringing Confidence. I appreciate this podcast as I have been thinking about getting into meat goats, and this has given me the confidence that I need. Thank you. Thanks, Nate. If you'd like to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, scroll down to Ratings and Reviews, click on the purple words, Write a Review, then give me stars and tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you, and you might just hear me share your review on the podcast. Here's what's happening on the ranch. The does and kids finished grazing in town, and they're back on the home place. They're looking good and growing well. We pushed the building project back for a bit because we all got sick and needed some rest. I don't want to tackle building when we're not at the top of our game, so it's all good. State Fair has started. We did the dog show last weekend, and livestock is the end of this week. It should feel like a lot bigger deal than county fair, but it's not. We have half as many animals, it's a whole different atmosphere, and we're there for the experience, so it's kind of a low-pressure show for us. Once it's over, we are fully into fall work until the weather shuts us down. I often get asked, what kind of meat goats should I get, or what breeds will work best in my area? What is the perfect meat goat? After several years of raising goats, I have my definition of the perfect meat goat for us, and it's changed a bit over time, and I expect there will be more changes as we try new things and dial in our production. I wish I could give you the definition for the perfect meat goat for your ranch, farm, or homestead, but it's something you're going to have to define and then refine as you learn more. It may be the same as ours, and it may not, but I'm going to help you define your perfect goat. Let's look at the things you need to consider when defining your perfect meat goat. What are your goals? Is that to feed your own family? Sell a few goats? Sell a lot of goats? Have strong maternal traits? A low-maintenance herd? Anything else? Next, what does your market prefer? If they're for home use, how big do you want them? How do you want them fed? If you're planning to sell goats, who is your market and what do they want? The good news is that there's a solid market for about every size and type of meat goat. Some prefer little ones under 30 pounds, and others want 70 pounds or bigger. Some want young goats under 6 months old, and some prefer big mature goats over 150 pounds. And some even want big mature bucks for meat. I don't understand that one, but there's a market for it. Boar goats, the ones with a red head and a white body, generally sell better than other breeds and colorings. especially if you take them to the sale barn. I have a friend who has a devoted set of buyers, but they will only buy redheads, so he is kind of limited on the genetics he can choose. Some buyers want grass-fed only, and some don't care what they've been fed. Almost universally, though, buyers don't want them to be fat. Goat fat is not very tasty and ends up being trimmed off. I do have a friend that renders goat fat into tallow and makes a pretty amazing tallow balm with it, so it does have a use. It's great that there's a market for all types of meat goats, but it's harder to find your market and what they want. So this part requires some research and really just getting out there and talking to people. Next, what is your climate like? In general terms, cool, dry northern climate or hot, maybe humid southern climate. In the north, you'll want goats that will hair up well for winter, growing the cashmere they'll need to keep warm. In the south, especially in the humid south, you'll want natural parasite resistance. What is your forage availability? If you have ample, high-quality forage and the goats don't have to travel a lot to get it, you could get heavier milk-producing does that will wean heavy kids and be fine. Their structure could even be less than perfect, as they wouldn't need to travel long distances for feed on a daily basis. If you live in a limited forage environment, heavy milk production can quickly become a problem. You'll hear me say this related to all livestock. Lactation is expensive. High milking does struggle in a low forage environment to meet the nutritional demands of lactation and will lose body condition until the kids are weaned. They may even wean their kids early when their loss of body reserves reaches a critical level. The good news is that the does have lots of time to regain condition after weaning and before breeding if you're on an annual production plan where you only kid once a year. The bad news is that it's stressful for them to get so nutritionally drained year after year, and I'm convinced that their longevity in the herd will be shorter than your low and moderate milk-producing does. Also, the udder on high-producing does tends to have problems sooner, like blown teats, which end up being a reason to cull early. Next, what is your anticipated management plan? When will you kid? When will you wean? When will you sell? Etc. When your kids will be ready to sell may dictate your market. Generally, the higher point in the goat market starts in late fall and continues into early spring. I think there are a couple factors playing into this. The holidays are a big seller for goat meat, Thanksgiving through Easter. A big percentage of goats raised in the U.S. are in the South, and those goats are born early in the year, January and February, so they hit the market around June through August. That's when supply is highest, price is the lowest, and therefore not the best time to sell. For us in the North, that works out pretty nicely. We kid in June, so our kids are ready for market in November. I have other friends who kid in November to hit the high spring market, and that works really well for them. Next, how intensively do you want to manage? This question covers a lot of factors. I'll just talk about a few of them here. Maternal traits. Do the does kid on their own, get their babies up and going, and then keep track of them, care for them, and protect them? If not, there could be a lot of work at kidding time. Reproductive traits. Do they breed up in the first heat and wean twins every year? We allow them to wean a single their first year, but after that, they need to bring in twins at weaning. Hoof health. Do they need their hooves trimmed regularly? For us, if they need hoof care more than once a year, they may be moving on to a new home soon. Disease and parasite resistance. Healthy goats are productive goats. Healthy goats have a much better chance of avoiding or recovering from disease and parasites. Choose goats that require low inputs and will thrive in your environment. Some breeds handle parasites much better than others. If you're in an area with potential for a high parasite load, consider those breeds, and we'll talk about breed specifics in a minute. Nutritional requirements. Some genetic lines of goats have higher nutritional requirements, specifically micronutrients, so it can be hard to keep them in good nutritional status. It can be done, but it's much easier if your goats don't have these higher requirements. All right, next week we'll pick up right here and we'll talk about the 5 most prominent meat goat breeds, and then we'll wrap up with tips on where to get your first meat goats. So make sure and check in next week. I hope this episode helps you define your perfect meat goat. Remember to look at your goals, market, climate, forage availability, and management plan, and consider all of those things when you're choosing the type of goat that fits best for your farm, ranch, or homestead. If you have questions, you can send me an email, and that's linked in the show notes, or come on over to the community and start a discussion at bit.ly/getgoatwisecommunity. Hey there, thanks for listening today. I'm so glad you're here. If this episode helped you or encouraged you in some way, share the link with your homesteading friends. And if you really want to help me out, click on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and a review. You can connect with me on Instagram or email linked in the show notes, and meet me back here soon for more Get Goat Wise.